Hi, I'm Joe Roth. At New Jersey Sharing Network, we're committed to saving and enhancing people's lives through organ and tissue donation and informing people about our life-saving mission. That's why we're proud to support programming produced by the Caucus Educational Corporation and their partners in public television.
Funding for this edition of Caucus New Jersey has been provided by Verizon, Adler Aphasia Center, helping stroke and brain injury survivors recover their speech. QualCare Inc., a managed care company administrating health plans that care about your health care. The New Jersey Office of the Insurance Fraud Prosecutor. Insurance fraud costs New Jersey families $1,300 a year. New Jersey Sharing Network, dedicated to saving lives through organ and tissue donation. The New Jersey Re-Entry Corporation. And by Montclair State University. Promotional support provided by NJ Biz, all business, all New Jersey. And by Meadowlands Regional Chamber, building essential connections that drive business growth.
This is Steve Adubato. We welcome, once again, we've had a series of discussions, but the business environment continues to change in the state of New Jersey. We welcome once again Michele Siekerka, President and CEO of the New Jersey Business and Industry Association. Michele, good to see you again.
Pleasure.
Let's talk about a range of things. By the way, why is it so expensive to live in and do business in New Jersey in 2017? Why?
There are many things that drive the cost of living and affordability in the state of New Jersey. So for New Jersey business, in general, there are a lot of regulations that drive your bottom line, that cause you maybe to have to push a lot of paper in the back office. And all those regulations and all that paper you're pushing, everything has a dollar attached to it. And I hear from my businesses every day. I just came from speaking at an event this morning. And the number one issue around the table, cost of doing business. And I said, give me examples.
Sure.
And a lot of it is regulations that drive. For New Jersey residents, property taxes. Property taxes. And candidly, for business, property taxes. New Jersey millennials, property taxes drives rent. Millennials can't afford to live here.
Let's talk about the millennials. You've really pushed this issue.
Yes.
Because you're worried about us losing these millennials. Why? I mean, what's the difference between a millennial and someone who's 40 or 50 or beyond? Like, what's the difference?
Well, they're our future workforce. NJBIA, we represent 20,000 businesses across the state of New Jersey. That's over 1.1 million jobs. We have to grow jobs in the state of New Jersey. If we don't have a workforce to draw from, how do we create new jobs?
What are they into? What do you believe most, because I don't want to generalize here, what do you think most millennials are interested in terms of quality of life and business opportunities, employment opportunities, that may be different than, say, 15, 20 years ago?
So the types of communities that they're looking to live, work, and play, really they want to find that all in one place. So the whole idea of more urbanism, they want to be able to take mass transit. So look, they can't afford to buy cars, and they don't want to own cars.
What do you mean they don't want to own cars?
They don't.
Doesn't everybody want a car and an expensive monthly payment? And
No, and in New Jersey, then you add the car insurance on top of it, and you're doubly challenged. But no, think about this for a minute. Millennials, their whole makeup is very different in terms of commitment. Think of that word commitment for a moment, okay? They're not buying homes like decades ago when you were in your 20s and you were saying home ownership. No. They want to rent. They like diversity. They want to try things out, and they're very mobile, right? So they move quickly in their jobs. They stay in jobs for a few years. They look for the next opportunity. So they don't commit to things. They don't commit to homes and communities because they want to try different things. They're marrying later, so they don't commit to relationships like they did before. In jobs, they're moving their jobs a lot. So they want to be in environments that have a lot of mobility to it.
So how about this? It's interesting. It's one thing about what employers, because we did a seminar a while back, a leadership seminar with you and your colleagues, and I was pleased to do it. And we talked about some of these issues with millennials, but that's one thing about what businesses can do. We'll talk about that. But there's going to be a new governor in January of 2018.
Yes.
What do you recommend that state government do in terms of public policy around this, or is that not a governmental issue?
So there's two pieces. Number one, I want to talk about process. The new incoming governor needs to bring New Jersey back to a process that delivers the opportunity for good policy to be made in the state. So what do I mean? What do I mean by that, right? Right now we have a process that is really lacking input by stakeholders. And we do policy a little more in a vacuum, we've seen. What we need is a process where everybody's engaged, where we come back. You know the value of diversity of opinion around a table, right? And what that yields when you listen and you compromise and you talk in more comprehensive manner about things and you understand what people need. So when you have a good process, you always yield a fair result. Not a result that everybody maybe loves, right? But it's fair because everybody inputs to the process.
So, devil's advocate, why wouldn't we want more decisive, clear, definitive leadership where people move faster and we don't have all these discussions and analysis, paralysis by analysis, you say?
You can have both. You can have both. Absolutely, because you make sure that the process you put in place is one that is effective, all right? And you don't allow to analyze forever. You call the question. When I facilitate a meeting with people around the table, I get everybody's input. I tell them how much time they have to put it in. We have some good dynamic discussion, and guess what? Call the question. Nike, just do it, move on.
And you believe that state government in 2018 needs to move more in that direction?
I would like to see our government process be more open and more like the things I studied as a young lawyer in terms of how government works.
So for businesses, and by the way, describe the businesses that are the members of the Business and Industry Association.
Yeah, so we have every type of business and every type of industry. I always love to say from the corner pizzeria to the 1,000-employee call center to the biggest utility in the state of New Jersey. And that's tremendous in that diversity. And that 20,000 member gives us a great, strong voice to represent business in the state of New Jersey. But embedded in that and all that diversity also can be challenged sometimes in terms of the positions that we can take, because the interest of the small pizzeria is very different than the 1,000-employee call center, is very different than the largest utility in the state.
We had a forum with a variety of the 4 legislative leaders. One of the things we do with the Business and Industry Association every year is we have a forum with the 4 legislative leaders. We don't know if they're going to be the same in 2018, but the 4 legislative leaders, the 2 Democratic leaders and 2 Republican leaders, that may change. We don't know what party will be in control in 2018. But one of the big issues we talked about when I was moderating at that forum was around the estate tax.
Yes.
The changes that people were looking to make in it. Tell everyone again what the estate tax is and why it's a huge issue.
Yeah, it was a huge issue that BIA very proudly advocated to address, and we got it addressed as part of comprehensive tax reform that we did last November. So the estate tax, we were an extreme outlier in the state of New Jersey. Only one of 2 states in the nation that had both estate tax and inheritance tax, and our threshold was the lowest in the nation.
Explain to folks, so you die in the state of New Jersey, and?
Well, if it was last
year,
yeah, if it was last year, if you died in 2016, if you had a state that was worth more than $675,000, that's when we started taxing you. And in the state of New Jersey, you own a home and have a 401k, you've probably triggered that. If you die in New Jersey in 2017, that threshold is now up to $2 million. So your first $2 million, you don't get taxed, right? But come January 1 of 2018, no more estate tax in the state of New Jersey. 0 gone.
What do you think that actually means from a practical point of view? Because the argument that was being made, and by the way, not everyone was for what BIA was for.
Understood.
A lot of folks were not for it. But the reality is, I'm not going to make your argument and the arguments of those who were for it, but that we were losing a lot of people with resources and moving to other states because they were going to say, listen, I'm going to die in another state because I'm not going to give it all away.
Correct.
To the government, right?
Correct.
I know I'm oversimplifying it, but.
Oh, no, we heard that every day. And when business people would tell me that and I would go have that discussion with policymakers, they would tell me that the information I was bringing was anecdotal. So we went and studied it. And then we brought back the data that said over the last 11 years, New Jersey lost $21 billion in net adjusted gross income out of the state of New Jersey. Number 1 out-migration state, Pennsylvania. Number 2 out-migration state, New York. That means we're lacking regional competitiveness with our 2 border states. Now, estate tax, we had to go to full elimination because Pennsylvania doesn't have an estate tax. So going to the federal level still would not have made us competitive with Pennsylvania. So that's why we had to eliminate estate tax. And it's a game changer. If you ask my colleagues at the CPA Society, they'll tell you that now when they are advising their clients on their tax planning, now they're saying you don't have to run out of the state of New Jersey. You can stay here. You can die in New Jersey.
You can die safely in New Jersey. Final question. It is risky to do this in late May 2017 as we tape this. The impact of the Trump administration on business in New Jersey is?
So it's very dynamic right now at the federal level. We know that. We were riding the Trump bump on the stock market, and businesses were feeling, very bullish on the economy. We saw that I think everyone's a little tempered right now because of how dynamic the situation is. But I will say this, regardless of what happens at the federal level, New Jersey is still a very blue state. So New Jersey is going to react in a way to ensure that we continue to be a leader in certain policies, regardless of what happens at the federal level. That may mean that if there's really good tax reform up at the federal level that we could benefit from in New Jersey, some may say, we don't agree with that, and we're going to do more than the federal government. That tends to happen. So something may go away. In New Jersey, we'll see it come back.
Michele Siekerka is the President and Chief Executive Officer of New Jersey Business and Industry Association. Thank you, Michele.
Thanks, Steve.
We'll be right back after this.
To watch more Caucus New Jersey, find us online and follow us on social media.
We have Scott Kasper in the house. He's Assistant Vice President, Emergency Services at Virtua. Good to see you, Scott.
Thanks, Steve. Good to see you.
By the way, is there a difference between EMTs and paramedics?
There is.
What is it?
So EMTs are emergency medical technicians. It's basic life support. So they have about 400 hours of training. They're really good at taking care of the initial care that needs to be provided in any emergency. But when patients are really sick, the truly life-threatening emergencies, that requires a paramedic. Paramedic training in New Jersey is a 2-year process at many of the community colleges throughout the state, where the first year is classroom didactic training, and the second year is like a medical residency. They do rotations through the hospital units. They do a field internship with paramedics, so they're really learning how to take care of patients in a real environment, and they become really expert at what they do.
You call 911, right?
Sure.
People, we teach our children that. We try to remember it ourselves.
Yep.
We don't really know what goes on the other end when that happens. What goes on?
So you call 911, and the first thing that happens is a call taker tries to decide whether you're really sick or really not sick. That the first initial triage or dispatch is based on that. So they'll ask you questions. If you're really not that sick, I twisted my ankle, I can't get to the hospital myself, or some other minor medical issue like that, they're going to send the local basic ambulance service squad that's in your community. If you use words like, I'm having trouble breathing, I have chest pain, I think my father's having a stroke, things like that, they'll also send that basic life support ambulance squad from the community. They'll get there first, in most cases, really fast. And then they'll also add the paramedics on top of that, so that the paramedics can do some of the more advanced life support. The best way for the lay public to think about paramedics is we essentially bring the emergency department to your living room.
Oh, whoa. You bring the emergency department?
The equipment, the medications, the skills that the paramedics have in their truck is very similar to what would be done in the emergency department. Obviously, we don't have x-ray machines or CAT scanners.
But what are you doing? Excuse me for interrupting. So, Scott, what are you doing out there as soon as you get there that gives that person a shot?
Right. So after the basic life support folks have done their thing and we come in to supplement that, we're starting IVs, we're putting a patient on a cardiac monitor, we're helping to diagnose whether or not that patient's actually having a heart attack. We have more than 40 different medications in our med box that we can use to begin to treat and stabilize those patients. As a matter of fact, a lot of what we do right now in today's EMS system is we stay right there with the patient to try and get that patient stable before we move them to the ambulance to go to the hospital. So it's all kinds of things that are really dependent on the case, but these folks save lives every day because of that.
So, Scott, recently it was traffic jam, which is par for the course in New Jersey. And so there's an ambulance in the traffic jam, and I say to myself, wait a minute, there's something not right here. But somehow the ambulance is able to navigate its way through. Everyone's, we're pulling to the side, but I'm thinking, how does this happen? What happens in that situation? Explain to folks what the protocol is, and also what technology is involved to change that dynamic so that the medical professionals can get to the patient who needs that help.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think the first thing I would ask your viewers is, if you do see an emergency vehicle, pull over to the side of the road as soon as it's safe to do that. So
Doesn't everyone do that?
Oh, you'd be surprised. Everyone should be doing that, but as you just described in your question, we often experience slowdowns because of those traffic scenarios. But we've implemented some technology to try and help us avoid that at Virtua in South Jersey. We're now using traffic predictive technology to help us dispatch a unit that can get there the fastest, that's not necessarily the closest. So the scenario that you just described, perhaps the other side of that highway didn't have as much traffic, right? At certain times of the day, we know that the traffic is dense going south, but it's not so dense coming north. Our technology now lets us know where all of our units are, and based on the incident location, how quickly they can get there based on the actual traffic conditions. So we may have a scenario where a unit is a little bit further away from a distance perspective, but because the traffic is different, coming from the opposite direction, we'll be able to get there the fastest. And that's what we're really trying to do.
So in terms of misconceptions, someone says, well, I want the ambulance, I want the medical professionals that are quote unquote closer to me. That's not always the smartest.
It's not always the smartest. The whole misconception about how fast the ambulance gets there is something that we're really trying to re-educate people about right now as well. It's not necessarily that faster is better. What we're talking about is bringing medicine to your home. And it's clinical care. It's not just racing to the scene and then racing to the hospital. It's what we do in between that really makes a difference in patient outcomes, and that's really what we're trying to promote.
Who are the professionals, the medical professionals, the men and women who you work with every day? What kind of people are they?
Oh, they're the best. These are men and women who are dedicated to working long hours in really not the greatest conditions, to give of themselves to save other people. They put themselves in harm's way every day. It's a very, very difficult, stressful job. And the men and women that I work with every day really try to become the best at what they do. It's not just a job for them. It's really a calling, and it's a craft that they have to practice to get as the best that they can be at practicing that craft on patients when it really, truly matters.
What do you get out of it?
What do I personally get out of it? Listen, I used to be a paramedic in the street, and I would be able to take care of a handful of patients a day, and it was a phenomenal opportunity for me. Now, where I sit, I help manage a system that takes care of hundreds of patients.
Because you're part of a larger operation?
So Virtua provides paramedic services to all of Burlington and Camden counties. So our regional system takes care of many, many patients every day, and the work that I do, the decisions that I make, sort of makes or breaks that model. If we're doing our job right, my paramedics in the street are able to do their job right, and people get to go home at the end of the day to their families.
You love what you do.
Love what I do, every minute of it.
Scott Kasper is Assistant Vice President of Emergency Services at Virtua. We thank you and your colleagues and all those who do what you do and help all of us and those we love who are in desperate straits every day. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it.
Stay with us. We'll be right back right after this.
To see more Caucus New Jersey with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at steveadubato.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato PhD. And follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
We are pleased to be joined by our good friend, Brenda Ross-Dulan, who is Board Secretary, Greater Trenton, and also Southern New Jersey Region President at Wells Fargo. Good to see you.
It's great to see you as well. Thank you so much for having me.
You also are part of the NJTV family as a member of the board of the founding organization of NJTV.
Yes.
Brenda, let me ask you this. We did this panel discussion talking about this with Bernie Flynn and some other folks who are part of this Greater Trenton initiative. And it is an initiative, right?
Yes.
Describe it.
So if I were to talk a little bit about it, it really is a nonprofit group that is designed specifically to facilitate the revitalization, the development of downtown Trenton. And the way this organization does it, it acts as an expert resource to businesses, to developers, to really promote the opportunities that are available in the downtown Trenton area.
So for example, give us a sense of one thing concrete that our audience can understand. You really want to accomplish this.
At the end of the day, and it's a really great question, so what does success look like?
Right.
At the end of the day, what we really want to do is restore what really has been a rich and vibrant history of Trenton, and that is the historical significance it has in a national scope, and also the idea that it really has a lot to offer as the capital city. So what we really want to do is make it a place where you want to live, to work, and to invest. The picture of success is a vibrant Trenton, focused primarily on looking at the redevelopment and revitalization of the downtown corridor.
And a lot of that's been going on. By the way, Brenda and I are both dealing with allergies. We're taping this in May. So to all of you that are dealing with it, yes. You have our sympathies and our empathy as well.
Yes.
But Brenda also has had experience in the Camden area as well. So is that any of the Camden experience that you've had, particularly representing Wells Fargo, is that useful in Trenton?
Absolutely. So one of the things that attracted me to the Greater Trenton Initiative, first of all, Karen Franzini, who is a former CEO of the New Jersey EDA, came to me. Of course, everybody knows her expertise and the passion that she brought to the city. We talked about her in the panel discussion, an extraordinary contribution. And so when she came and she talked about what she wanted to do, I immediately was able to draw parallels with a similar organization in Camden. And that organization has done a lot to work with the city, with elected officials, to also work with the businesses to bring about needed investment in the Camden area. So I think we could leverage that model and leverage that strategy to make a difference in the Greater Trenton Initiative as well.
Brenda, you and I have had a lot of offline conversations. I think one of the last times we met was in the Trenton area. But Trenton means a lot to you, but also means a lot to the state. As the capital city, it matters that Trenton downtown is revitalized and is doing better and jobs are created. It matters.
Well, the symbolism.
For pride and a lot of other reasons.
From my perspective, the symbolism of the state capitol, the symbolism of having a vibrant and thriving and prosperous Trenton is really great for the entire state of New Jersey. I personally have a passion for underserved communities, and so upon coming to New Jersey, my focus is looking at those markets where Wells Fargo can make a difference, where I could personally make a difference to leave people better off, to leave communities better off. I always have this philosophy, and I can talk over and on about it, is that when you come through this world, there should be some evidence that you were there. If you walk through the room, there should be some evidence that you've made a difference. And I think that my participation in Greater Trenton, Wells Fargo's investment in this, means that we can make a difference in the lives of the people who are in that corridor.
In the time we have left, Brenda, when do you actually think we actually would see something tangible?
Well, you're going to see some evidence of that right now, and I won't spill the beans, if you will.
But tell us what you think. Is it physical? Is it brick and mortar? I hate to put it that way. It's going
to be a combination of things. It's going to be brick and mortar. There are some projects that are in the pipeline that we are helping to facilitate. So I want to be very clear that our role really is to leverage some of the great talent, the great work. So we didn't come in and actually start this from scratch. There are people who have dedicated their lives that have a love for Trenton, and we're there to help facilitate and move things forward. So you'll see some development. You'll see a faster facilitation of permitting and those types of things, and you'll see a highlighting and a marketing of the city that will bring developers and other investors into the community.
It's so interesting. It's not about taking over. It's about moving I hate to use this expression, but I will, moving the ball down the field faster to have greater impact in a way that otherwise wouldn't happen in a coordinated fashion. By the way, you do call it an initiative and not a project.
We call it an initiative and not a project because, from my perspective, a project has an end. An initiative is an ongoing investment in the future vitality of that city.
Minute left. I love what you said about, and you and I have talked about this a lot, making an impact. People say, oh, banking, bottom line, dollars and cents. You say?
I say that Wells Fargo has a vision and a mission, and that's about helping our customers succeed. I also have a personal mission myself, and I think that we all try to live our calling, to leverage those skills and talents, for me to be able to bring those skills and talents and somehow leave somebody else's life better off than when I found it.
That is the effort, that is the purpose, that is the goal of the Greater Trenton Initiative that we've been talking about. That's what this entire program is about. That's also why we partnered with our friends at NJTV as part of the In Your Neighborhood Initiative. So if you want to find out more, check out the website. It'll be all about that. Brenda Ross-Dulan, who is the board secretary at the Greater Trenton Initiative and the Southern New Jersey region president at Wells Fargo. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Well done.
The preceding program has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of Caucus New Jersey has been provided by Verizon, Adler Aphasia Center, QualCare Inc., the New Jersey Office of the Insurance Fraud Prosecutor, New Jersey Sharing Network, the New Jersey Reentry Corporation, and by Montclair State University. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. Caucus New Jersey has been produced in partnership with TriStar Studios.
Hi, I'm Governor Tom Kean. A dear friend of mine had aphasia, which is a language disorder that occurs from a brain injury or a stroke. It robs a person's ability to communicate, but it doesn't affect their intellect. Programs and services offered at the Adler Aphasia Center help to improve my friend's communication skills, as well as her self-confidence and quality of life. Most importantly, she was among people who understood her. If you or a loved one has been diagnosed with aphasia, there is hope.